Doing like this, facing him, and then you step. That's a travel. And unfortunately, it happens a lot in the game. It's a fall. So, you know, to get the ball, you do.
All right, welcome back to another After Dark, everyone. Hope you all are having a good night so far. Hope you guys had a wonderful day. All right, so there's this one video here that's been recommended to me, and it was a little while back. It was recommended, and I got a follow-up comment saying, "Hey, man, when are you going to react to this video?" So, yeah, here we go. I had to dig it out of the abyss, but here we are. This is titled, "Why 1960s and 1970s NBA players were extremely skilled." NBA historian explains, and this is from the Wilt Chamberlain Archive channel, which surprisingly comes up a lot when it comes to requests. This channel it's really damn cool, honestly. If you're ever curious about the old era, you know, so the 60s and 70s, this is kind of the channel for you. So I'm going to link the video down below like I always do. And if you're interested in those eras, I highly recommend checking it out. Interested in learning about Bill Walton or Wilt Chamberlain or, you know, Kareem's early years, any of that kind of stuff, here it is. So anyways, it'll be down there in the description for you. You also see a list of channel members. Shout out to channel members. I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, you have no idea. You guys are awesome. So, and I enjoy talking to you guys every day in the member section. It's good stuff. So, guys, I want to kind of get right into this one because I've been sitting on this video for way too long. So let's get to it. Like the vid if you could. Hit that hype button if you could. All that stuff helps out. And let's do it. Do it.
Players back then were playing a handcuffed version of basketball.
For real.
There are some things that are the same. The size of the court is the same. The lane is, at this point, 16 feet. The baskets are 10 feet up. Other than that, there's a lot of things that change how everyone has to build their game. But one thing I would like to try to convey here is that these players who played back then, from role players all the way up to the superstars, they were masters of their craft.
Ball resting in the palm of the hand, the fingertips on it. The wrist, the forearm, and the elbow are the most important parts as far as shooting is concerned.
The defensive player never knows when you're going to shoot.
Pull-ups.
Notice how...
And guys, I'm sure he's going to get to it, but focus on the dribbling too. How difficult it was to be able to dribble because you had to go flat foot, flat hand, right above the basketball. There was no palming, none of that stuff allowed that there is nowadays. That, and then also the footwork, because that's the other thing that nowadays you can get away with whatever you want footwork wise, travel wise, and yeah, you'll never see a palming violation called. Back then, you're slightly off, it's over. Violation.
The arm is relatively straight and the elbow almost directly under the ball. If the arm is not relatively straight, chances are the shot won't be either. The wrist is cocked and the fingers on the ball, so the fingertips control the ball. You should shoot every shot the same way.
Down your margin of error.
Sure, because the defense is on its way down.
And you gotta look for the layup.
Went into him and bounced back, right?
Right, I just try to use my body, not use my arm or hand to push him away so I wouldn't get an offensive foul.
Because they use their hand, they get carried away, and they'll go into a player and push him and pop back. You're guarding him. Now you got
you guys seen any play by LeBron James, especially when he's driving to the basket? He gets away with this foul every single play.
all that. Now what do you do?
When he's on offense.
Try to make my move, Red. Try to work him this way, that, then go to the baseline.
You see, he found out, and he knows, from this position as a forward, he can go any way he wants. So your most important point is to lift your head up first, see what you're going to do, and then make the throw. That's right. Gave it a little shovel pass. Very simple. What's your objective when you're making a little simple play like that?
Well, to give the man a good pass.
Exactly.
The other thing is to hide that ball. Don't let this man behind me see what I'm going to do with it.
And there's a little hook pass.
And the first thing I would put his hand out. Now I'm ready to block a shot right now. I'm ready to take
No matter who's going to shoot it.
No matter who takes it right now, I'm ready for it.
Within what area?
Anywhere in here. I've eliminated, try to eliminate the pass here. So what I'm going to do is get an angle and watch here.
Yep.
That's very good. Now you see what happens here. Bill Russell knows that not only is he a great scorer and has great quickness and can go in for the layup, but he can fake the layup and pass off to Bill Russell's man. So as he said, he had this hand out to eliminate that, and still, you notice how nice and soft he blocks the shot? I want to do this again. Go ahead, do it fast, Tiny. Go fast. Now, hold it. All right, Calvin, let's see a few dexterity drills.
Okay, yeah, this is awesome. I'm glad we're watching this. Palm down dribble era. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. I'll read it. Because some of you guys don't know or understand this. No touching the side or underside of the ball. Carrying. Yep. We're talking like if your hand is even like this, that's a carry. It has to be flat like this at all times. And it's funny because nowadays, like, young people will make fun of how they dribbled back then without even understanding they had no choice. It's not that they couldn't palm. Palming is easy. Anybody can palm the ball. That takes zero skill to dribble the ball that way because you're actually carrying the ball while you do it. But yeah, they didn't have a choice. They get a violation. Okay, second line. No hesitating or floating the dribble in midair. Palming, yes, 100%. So yeah, you got to constantly be dribbling. Bink, 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 bink. You can't hold it. You can't hold the ball at all. The first player that ever got away with a little bit of that was probably Isaiah Thomas, then Tim Hardaway, and then Allen Iverson. And now it is what it is. It's terrible now. All right, so last line. Dribbling rules were stiff. The players were not. Well said.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
All right, now how does that relate if you're going to twirl the baton?
Well, I'm dribbling with my fingers here.
Watch this. He doesn't even have to watch anything.
Yeah. Does this remind you a little bit of Steph Curry, you guys, and his routines? Because they were doing this stuff a long time ago, just different. It looks different.
Look at the camera. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that control.
It's crazy.
I've been playing ball since I was 7 or 8 years old, and after a while, you instinctively learn how to shoot.
Okay. He signaled for the ball. He felt that he couldn't get the ball where he wants. Now what? See? Sometimes he bounces, sometimes he don't. Just move.
Yeah, it just depends on what the defender is giving him.
First variation would be faking this way. Going to the basket. Just a spin and going to the basket.
I mean, even just that, how he used the glass, because he's going to go up with the right, switch to the left, and then spin it, like kiss it right off the glass.
Going to the basket. Just a spin and going to the basket. Let's see if we can go the other way. Basically the same shot. Fake. And go right into the basket.
A lot of people think that just because he happens to be tall, he didn't spend all this time working. I know he did, because I followed his career for many years. He worked hours and hours and hours on shooting and developed a touch, but most important,
they really understood how to play the game that was in front of them. Just like today's players really understand how to play the game that is in front of them. I think it's wrong to try to act like the game just progressed. Like, players got better.
Yeah.
That's what changed. That's what's different between now and 1980. It's more like players continually adapt to an ever-changing landscape of rules and regulations around them.
And I think a lot of it has to do with the rules. It's something that a lot of people my age we complain about, is because the narrative is that, like he said, oh, well, people are just better now. They're better at the game of basketball. I would love to say that. I wish that was the case, but I can't say that for sure, because the rules nowadays are so much more lenient that it's like if you were to give a class an exam in 1980, and then grade the test, grade the exam, and you get your average for how like all the students that year were able to do on that exam. Then you take an exam and you say, okay, we're going to do that again in 2025. Except for all the questions are easier now. They're way easier. They're 20% easier. And then you're going to say, oh, well, they got better scores now. So they have to be smarter than they were back in 1980. It's not a fair thing. It's not a 1-to-1. It's not apples to apples anymore.
Doing like this, facing him, and then you step. That's a travel.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it happens a lot of days in the ball. So, to get the ball, you do this is the travel.
Yep.
So if you get the ball, wait, or even though you get it, quick first step and the ball on the dribble.
What about crossover steps? So say you're facing up again, and you jab and go left. That's right, because no. So anything where your foot leaves before the ball comes down.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot move the pivot foot no matter what before you dribble it.
So if I want to go right, put the goddamn ball down.
I have
and all of you guys who jump into my comments whenever I say, oh, he lifted his pivot foot, that's a travel. Learn the rules, man. Learn the rules of the game. And I don't blame you so much. I get it. Because you're thinking, oh, the officials aren't calling it, so it's not a rule. No, it is. It is. That's supposed to be a travel. You can't just like grab the ball, take 2 steps, then take your first dribble, and then stop the ball, pivot around, lift your pivot foot, and split 2 defenders and think, okay, yeah, that was a good basketball play. No, there was multiple violations in that play, but the referees are not calling it anymore. It is what it is.
good example of Jim Barnett. He was sort of a role player back then, but just to show like how much thought and how much polish goes into their moves and some of the things that they observe in the game.
You want to catch the ball in an area where, what I call an A area, where you can take a shot without having to take a dribble.
Okay.
Because everything is predicated upon catching the ball.
Again, this is Jim Barnett.
Where you can take a shot
He's a contemporary of Willis Reed. He was a backcourt player back then.
Rim on one dribble, efficiently on one dribble, maximum 2 dribbles. All these other dribbles just get you in trouble, more defense comes. You're up on me. As soon as I make this move, you've got to not only move to the side, but you're going to make a move backwards that way. You have to.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm going to be gone.
You're going to blow by him.
So, all right? Now, you don't know which way I'm going to go. You don't know. You still don't know.
And be aware, obviously, pivot foot. So he's jabbing with the right.
See, I maybe go that way.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Jab, jab.
Now, I can't elevate anymore. But if you notice that, even at my age, I'm near the 3-point line. What happens, there's a rhythm to it. If you can get this on the film. There's a rhythm, and when I throw it, I'm going to run and get it, and I'm going to take a few steps. I'm going to pick it up off my right foot. I'm going to take a step with my left, so I can have a natural 1.5 step to the basket. Even from here.
Another key thing he just said there, 1.5 steps to the basket. What do we know about basketball today? You get a rhythm that's 1, 2, 3 to the basket. He's saying 1.5 steps. Why is he saying that? This is where I believe, someone like Gilbert Arenas' opinion is falsified. He thinks that these guys don't know how to play. He thinks the skill wasn't developed. No, the skill was extremely developed. The skill was extremely developed to a different set of rules.
Yeah. They were playing to the game's restrictions, just like they would now if the game was called the same way it was 40 years ago. They would have to adapt and play to those restrictions, just like they did back in the day. But you take a player from the 80s, give him a magical stay young forever pill and plant him in 2025, and you tell him you can take 4 steps now? While back then, even if off the dribble you took 2 steps, a good amount of times you got called for a travel, even though that shouldn't be a violation. They'd have a field day in today's NBA. Imagine that. Take 4 steps anytime you want.
Imagine how different the game is going to look if this one rule alone was implemented in today's game.
I wish.
Players have to figure out how to get the ball after a gather to the rim within 1.5 steps, not 3. This should explain to a lot of people, and I know somebody's going to break down footage somewhere and be like, no, look at this player back then who did it in X number of steps. It's the exception, not the rule.
It is the exception, not the rule. Yes. You can always find one case where a referee missed a call. That's going to happen in any sport in any era. But if you watch an actual 48-minute long game back then compared to now, it's night and day.
The way refs were officiating games back then, you can see it. It's clear as day when you watch extended game tape from that era. It's a different game of basketball. It is really tight how it was called back then. You know, all of this downhill play today, all of this stretch shooting today, all of these things, they go out the window when you take away a three-point line, when you only allow 1.5 steps after a gather. You know, the amount of traveling, and then there's another thing that we'll get into later, charging calls. It's ridiculous how sensitive charging calls were back then. But this sort of, you know, variance with how the game was interpreted is, it really needs to be talked about when anybody's trying to evaluate skill then versus skill today.
I agree.
I should be able, you know, years ago, I could get all the way to the rim on that. It only works, by the way, against good defenders, which is pretty good if you're in the NBA, because they should be better defenders. If you're not a good defender, what'll happen is you're not going to go with my fake too much, okay? And I might bounce the ball off your foot. That's happened before to me, even in the NBA a few times. Maybe I try to rush it or whatever. But the key is, now you're guarding me, come just guard me any way you want, okay? I'm gonna step back here because you don't know what I'm gonna do and I don't either.
I thought you were going that way.
I know, don't guess, see? I don't know. There's another way, ready?
Oh.
So anyways, that's Jim Barnett, like in his 70s. Those moves.
In his 70s, yeah.
You know, most people who are at least armchair experts, those moves are going to work against them. He's going to freeze defenders with that. Now, he's got to figure out, think of how tough his assignment is as a guard in the NBA back then. He's got to figure out how to freeze defenders in an era where you have to dribble palms down. You cannot touch the side of the ball.
Yep.
So he kind of explained how
okay, not only is he palming, look how many steps in between the dribble.
You cannot touch the side of the ball.
Okay. Possession. One,
so he kind of explained how the incentive.
Okay, he got two in there.
Has changed. Some of this stuff still applies today. Some of these concepts, like I like to implement today, keeping dribbles to a minimum, but I see a whole bunch of guard players today who don't, and they're kind of effective, even though they don't implement that. The people's handle is so loose today. Because they can touch the side of the ball. They can hesitate with the ball at the apex of its dribble.
What the hell is that?
Of the ball. They can hesitate with the ball at the apex of its...
hold on, one more time. Okay.
Touch the side of the ball.
Jesus.
They can hesitate with the ball at the apex of its dribble.
How are you allowed to do this?
All of these were violations when Jim Barnett or Willis Reed were playing. All of these were violations. So you had to play and kind of figure out how to be in triple threat like how Jim Barnett was explaining there. You had to learn how to freeze a defender before you started your dribble going left or right, which is why a lot of big players didn't even do it. It's also why a lot of players didn't.
Look at that. Like... Okay, this right here. Look at this. This is what a running back would do in American football. This is not allowed in basketball. If you do this, you have now picked up the ball. You want to continue taking. You want to dribble the ball again after this? There's now a double dribble. You want to take steps and not dribble the ball after this? Take two, and then everything after that is a travel. But he's gonna get to just
a lot of players didn't
right back on the ground. While taking a bunch of steps in between too. So we're talking we're talking palming violation, we're talking double dribble, and we're talking travel.
Really develop their offhand. You know, changing hands and pushing the ball side to side in a lateral way often got you in trouble with violations back then. And the game was called so tight, you know, it's better to figure out a number of other ways to move the ball around as a team, let alone as an individual back then. So it completely changes the incentives in a nuanced way. So much so that when people glance at a game from like 1970 versus glancing at a game, today, it's easy to see why somebody would make a snap judgment and say they suck back then. They don't know how to dribble. They don't know how to, because they're not trying these advanced moves today. But they're not trying these advanced moves today.
Wow. He cut off his own video. Okay, well, fantastic video. Totally glad I watched this with you guys. I'm thinking of an analogy. Like, okay, it's like if in the 50s they had guitars, electric guitars, and electric guitars only had 2 strings on them. And now in 2025, they got 6 strings on them. And these players, guitarists are able to do all these things that were like impossible back then. But no one's addressing the issue that like, well, there's 4 more strings on there. So of course you're able to do more. You're able to cover more ground, but they're just like, nah, they sucked back then. This is all completely nonsense, by the way. I'm just making this stuff up. It's not real. But that's how it feels to me. It's like, no, you're not addressing the restrictions that were in place back then versus what, the game is like now when we're talking about basketball. And that is really one of the things that has just like driven me crazy, because we've been calling out travels for like, 15, 20 years. Like, what the hell's going on in the game? And the crazy thing is, we thought at a point we would all be complaining so much that it would change. It would revert back to the old rules. Instead, the rules just got looser and looser and looser. And we're at this point now where like there is no violation. There is no palming. There is no double dribble. There is no traveling anymore. There is no offensive fouls anymore for the most part. You can straight up just elbow people in the ribs on your way to the basket. And there's no violation called. I see players like LeBron straight up, just when he's on offense, he's got the ball, he'll straight up just open palm shove someone out of his way. No violation. So if the rules are going to be this lenient and they're not going to call it fair, then yeah, it looks like these guys are amazing nowadays. Look at what they're doing. Why couldn't they do that back in the day? They must have sucked back in the day. Listen, for those of you young people out there watching this, first off, I tip my hat off to you. Good. It's good to learn. I understand a little bit where you guys are coming from, because this is how you've known the game to be, and you don't know it any other way. But for those that are like, born in the 80s like me, or even in the 90s, better. This is not how the game used to be played and not how the game used to be called officiation-wise. So if you're getting into this narrative of, wow, like this is the best ball handler I've ever seen, or the best, like how's this guy getting all these statistics? Blah, 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 blah. You should know better. You should know better. There's a very obvious reason why. And the thing is, I'll end it with this one. There's a reason also why. It's a very clear reason, and most people can't understand this, especially young people, because the reasons I just listed. There's a reason why old heads like me say, if you take a modern NBA player and you put him in like the 80s NBA, he's screwed. You're screwed. However, if you take an 80s basketball player, an NBA player, and you put him in the modern NBA, oh, that guy's going to have a field day. Why? I'm not hating. The reason why, it's actually very logical and simple, is if you take a player that is used to incredibly loose rules, nothing getting called, and then all of a sudden you put him in the lockdown officiating of the 80s where everything is called and there's no ifs, ands, or buts, well, they're going to be screwed, because that's hard to adjust to. It's hard to break bad habits. You know what I mean? Now you take somebody from the 80s and you put him in nowadays, well, he's so used to the game being restrictive. Now you tell him you can loosen up your dribble, you can loosen up on your steps, you can hit people on your way to the basket, you can do all these things. Well, he's going to be twice as good as he used to, because you unleashed him, you unchained him. You know what I'm saying? But it's simple, but it goes over a lot of people's heads. They don't seem to understand why we say these things. It's not coming out of hate. It's not some like boomer thing where it's, you know, it's like, you kids nowadays don't know what basketball is. No, kids nowadays know what basketball is today, but you couldn't convert that into yesterday's basketball. And maybe some of them could, but it would definitely take some time. While if you took an old player and put him into today's basketball, it wouldn't take any time to adjust. You wouldn't be getting called for any violations. If anything, it's going to be hard to like retrain your brain that, hey, you know, I can actually have 4 steps. So you got to like reprogram your brain to allow this type of thing that we used to call bad habits. Oh, I can palm the ball anytime I want, stop my dribble, change my pivot foot. I can do these things and get away with it. That's going to be the challenge for the old player. And that's a very nice challenge to have, because that means I can get looser and looser and looser with my game and not worry about, you know, getting called for any of these violations. So I think that's all I have to say about it. Really cool video though. It really touched on all the things that I've been trying to say. And like I said, not coming from a place of hate. It's just, you can't compare the old era players to the current era players fairly, because they're playing under different rules. And that's where I'm going to leave it right now. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Like the video, leave your comments down below. Hit that subscribe button if you want more content like this. And most importantly, everybody, is to be water, my friends. Peace out.